Hey, it's Tony on Tony Talks Trash About Music. Welcome into another evening here, sweltering evening in the summertime. Tonight, we're going to do a rather short little ranking of a band that is a krautrock anomaly, I guess, or whatever, however you want to call it. A krautrock entity nonetheless, and the strange saga and the strange music behind the Cosmic Jokers. Cosmic Jokers were essentially a band that was produced out of sessions led by Dieter Dirks, a heavy German engineer and recording entity. Harold Grosskopf, Jürgen Delos, Klaus Schultz, and Manuel Gottsching. All of this music was put together basically during parties in which they would have an abundance of LSD. And when they had the LSD, they'd roll the tapes. Well, after the fact, a little bit after the fact, some of the more minor people that were involved in this got a hold of some of those tapes. And it even became to the point where some of the people from Asherah Temple and stuff are the guitarists from Asherah Temple. Manuel Gottsching is walking through a record store and all of a sudden hears him playing. And he goes, "What record is this?" Turns out that Gilly Lettman and R.U. Kaiser, who was the main brains behind the thing, took these tapes and essentially put them out. Allegedly, according to Julian Cope's Krautrock book and other sources, no royalties were paid. Eventually, after a long story, and you can read about this online because it's not have nothing to really do with the records, but the fallout from it. The records ended up, as I understand, in some dubious places and department stores and such, basically given away, and they were on the run. From what I understand, Kaiser and Gilly had never recovered from this. You want to call it acid casualties, whatever you want to call it, but they were on the run. She called herself the Star Maiden or the Sternmännchen, as in German, which is basically they tried to cast her as some kind of magical spell weaving entity in connection with these recordings. There's nothing like it anywhere, folks. There's no way anybody ever got this far with that. If you want to see a very interesting piece of film, you should put R.U. Kaiser in YouTube, and you're going to see this. There's a round table where they're talking in German, and all of a sudden the guy gets up with this hammer and starts smashing the table. And Kaiser's saying some stuff there, and I think he's mad at Kaiser. I can't really tell because he's German. But the guy ends up stealing the microphones and things. It is one of the craziest situations. But this is the environment in which some of this music was put out. Klaus Schultz, of course, the drummer in Asherah Temple early that turned into the really the synthesizer genius, ends up playing synthesizer on lots of these records. Now, there are a couple other records that fall outside the Cosmic Jokers namesake, but that are essentially Cosmic Joker records. I'm talking about the Asherah Temple Timothy Leary record 7 Up, and I'm talking about the record Tarot by I believe the guy's name. Let me see the name here. I think it is. Now, they say it's a Cosmic Jokers record, but you know what? I never thought that it really was. It always ended up being a Harold Grosskopf type of thing, Walter Wegmuller. The situation is, I'll just tell you on all these records, there's very little singing. The only singing done on this, there's some gals that do some singing on that 7 Up record, and there's some, but it's mostly talking. You mostly have your cosmic narrators. This music is out there, folks. It's synthesized, it's improvised, it's mixed together, it's spliced together, they put all kind of effects on the vocals. It is essentially music made for psychedelic usage, essentially. I mean, it's hard to understand somebody straight wanting to listen to this stuff, but at the same time, interesting things are interesting things. So whether it's born out of how it's born doesn't really matter. I mean, I just said that out of my mouth, and I'm going to tell you just the opposite. I do know people that are fans of this music that are as straight as a pin. So it's interesting. It's an interesting thing, but let's get started here. I have some vinyl, and I'm going to show you some. A lot of these I'm lucky enough to get. Some of these are worth a lot of money. Some of these aren't worth so much. But let's start number 7. There's a couple collections here. The first collection here is one by the name of Sci-Fi Party. Sci-Fi Party here was released. They have it here in 1994, but Sci-Fi Party, I don't know whether it was there before, but Sci-Fi Party would be the last one. It is one of these that was put together. This is in the Cosmic Jokers realm. All these, you're going to see all these, this symbol right here on all these records. This is the Cosmic Joker symbol. And essentially, this is a mixture of all kinds of stuff with Kendra Dialis, the electronic scene. You've got Asheroth Temple through this. You've got Dieter Dirks. You've got some of the stuff from Timothy Leary. This is just a mix. 2 of these records were just compendiums of the other music with a little bit of music put in, but all these are synthesizer related and synthesizer wash. You have these situations where the music's coming and then something comes and takes it over. I mean, the entire tracks. You've got some wild stuff that the Dieter Dirks was doing in this. The next one that I have is also a compilation, and that is number 6. And this is one of the ones that I do not have on vinyl because it is ridiculously expensive. Planet and Sit In. Same sort of thing you got here. You've got you Planet and Sit In is a collection. Some of the stuff here, intergalactic radio, gut broadcasting, interstellar rock. You have these things where they take these music and put these real cosmic titles to it, and basically have Gilly and other people talk over no, and they echo out. Trippy stuff, guys. You're not going to find any more. The electronic news. Planet and Sit In is kind of more of a conceptual one than the other one, than the Sci-Fi Party. Sci-Fi Party is more of a sampler, whereas Planet and Sit In is more of something that moves. But there's a lot of different sections that are taken out of the long thing. Basically the 2, and I'll talk about this in a minute, but the 2 Cosmic Joker records, the big ones, only have like side long songs. Like a lot of the krautrock stuff, they don't break down the sounds, even though they're different sections to them. They have just side 1 and side 2 and just give it a name, like Miles was working on it at the time too. Number 5, let's talk about Tarot. And this is one that I've seen released under Walter Wegmuller's name. And I've seen released under Harold Grosskopf's name. It is a strange record where they took the entire tarot deck and they put all the music, cosmic music with guitar, synthesizers, wild stuff. And essentially you have a new narrator here. Composed by performer Harold Grosskopf, does a lot of the talking here. Walter Wegmuller talks a lot too. Wegmuller and Westrup. That's a record that fell outside of the circle of this because it's more or less a more folky record. I didn't count it as that, even though R.U. Kaiser had something to do with it. But in this particular record, the reason this is involved is the producer, Gilly Lettman and Rolf Ehrlich Kaiser, and recorded by Dieter Dirks. So it fits right in here, and it is number 5. Here is, to me, the trippiest of the compilations, the best of the 3. Gilly's Zeitshift, which means Gilly Lettman, and here she is herself, the Sternmädchen. Here she is. You can see she's trying to plug in her headphone. Look at her. You can imagine the situation. Anyway, there's a whole long thing, and there's Brian Baird that evidently wrote some stuff on this too, who's involved in these recordings, wrote some stuff on it. There evidently was this issue where what really fueled a lot of this was Rolf Ehrlich Kaiser's love for Gilly Lettman, and tried to, put her career forward. She basically worked in textiles before this and came forward, but this has got all the stuff with Tim. She's all over this. So she talks about mein Zeitshift, and any of you can read German can check that out right there. Pause the video and look at it. Report back on what it says, if you can, please. But anyway, it says sci-fi here. All little things in the corner of the record. See this little printing here? The trippiest records ever made. They're all on the Spalex. The ones that I have are on the Spalex label. This, of course, actually has a picture label. Beautiful Gilly on the side there. Something else, man. I tell you, I got to get these in the other sleeves. But anyway, that's where we are with that. Now, let's talk about one of the strangest records that culturally connected to the United States, and a very valuable record now. I just realized even this 50th anniversary that I got in 2012 or 2022 is worth Looks like some money here, and this is Timothy Leary and Asherah Temple's 7 Up. Basically, what it means is a 7 Up bottle he passed around. Dun, 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 dun. You know what that means, of course. Um, Here's the inside of it. Beautiful cosmic stuff. Timothy Leary, there's a lot of this music. It starts off, the first song on this is almost like a slow, you imagine it to kick off. And the weird thing about this record is it starts off with a real slow, like almost lunging blues thing that it turns into something greater later. But when when Right Hand Lover and certain things come in, but it's still the same band. If you love that first Asherah Temple record with Gotching and Irk and those guys, and Klaus Schultz, there's nothing like it. And Klaus is propelling this one too on drums. You say, well, Klaus Schultz on drums, yeah, he was a drummer in Asherah Temple. That's how he started. People don't realize it. It's one of the rare occasions where you have somebody really switch instruments, introduced on the scene as a drummer, and he makes his way into synthesizers, and synthesizers really, up until his recent death, made a great living at it. That's number 3. Again, produced by R.U. Kaiser, Gilly too, and all over it. Now we get to the main 2 here. This is the first one here. The first one here that they had in 1974 released. The Cosmic Jokers here. You've got 2 songs on this. You've got Galactic Joke. You've got Cosmic Joy. This is essentially Dieter Dirks, Klaus Schultz, Harold Grosskopf, Jürgen Dahlies, and Manuel Gutsching all here together. Manuel Gutsching is the guitar behind all this. All these records are, and these 2 main ones, and I guess you'd put the 7 Up too, are some of the most crazy guitar driven records made. And when you hear them, they go off. Lots of weird drums, lots of even mistake things that happen. But they do the thing like Bowie does. They magnify the mistakes sometimes with echo, and they become really something. But anyway, this is the first, and this is put together by, again, after the fact, and this is really, really something else. Let's go to the number 1 of all, and very expensive record to get. I was lucky to be able to get a hold of it in time. The Crazy, Crazy Galactic Supermarket. Dung, 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 dung. This is just some of the things in this. Julian Cope, I think, said it well in his book. The themes in this record stick in your head. Again, 2 super long freakouts, Kinder D. Alice, Galactic Supermarket. This, to me, is my favorite one. This is a one that's a little crazier. Again, Gilly and Rossi. You've got Rossi, the singer for Asherah Temple, being involved in this. Dieter Dirks, Jürgen Dahlies, Manuel Gutsching, Harold Grosskopf, and Klaus Schultz. Nothing like it. Nothing like the artwork, and nothing like the trip. For all you people who really want a unique, there aren't that many of these records left. Now, you'll see things like this, and you may see something with the guy who was the guy that owned the food store out in the Yoha Wee or whatever that, I forget the guy's name, but this is kind of in that category. These are things that were there for a short while, things that were born out of different stuff, and really, really good music. So I would encourage y'all to check it. It's a scene that's not for everybody. Maybe just a couple of these you can get cheap. Maybe it makes sense to get the cheapest one you can get to start with. Try it on and see if it's something for you. But it is really some music that you can just put on, and it'll take you away to someplace different. If you want to get into it and want to go out, then you can do that. But that's not necessarily the function of all these records. Like I said before, these records are odd in that there's hardly any singing in it. Timothy Leary tries to sing some in his. Other than that, well, you've got Rossi and who was a singer in Asherah Temple with them, and but there's not a whole lot of singing other than in that it's mostly cosmic narration and statements like Gilly say, go, 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 go. It is just, wait till you hear some of the effects that were done on this. In a way, you can see this is kind of a practice, a cutting edge thing. Some of these techniques they probably never used before. They tried them out here because they had the raw material, and that's what they tried to do. Years later now, Gilly, I heard, and R.U. Kaiser were living in a convent house somewhere, some charity home. You know, she still sent out some things everywhere once in a while from the Star Maiden, but you don't really know what happened to them, and you don't really know why. It's a big mystery. There's been a lot of people saying that the Cope stuff isn't right, but until I hear something to the contrary, that's kind of like the only report we have. The Brian Barrett thing was supposed to come out, and I didn't see that. If somebody's aware of that, let me know. It was supposed to be a complete project. I did see some excerpts, but I never saw the full thing. So I would be interested in that personally, but anyway, just as historical nature. But anyway, it's something to check out. The Cosmic Joker. Some of them aren't cheap, but really some music you should try to listen to because they're really the essence of a certain type of krautrock, and it's probably as far out as some of it got. And of course, if you love Astral Temple, this is right up your alley. Thanks, everybody. Please leave your comments. Please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. And please like. And we really appreciate you being on this journey with us. I guess we can say trip tonight, huh? Even though it's not. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.